Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm going to share my screen and get us started. And as always, Kirsten, I'm going to ask you, do you just see the full screen view?
Yep, you're good.
Awesome. Okay. So we are, wow, it's exciting to think that February 25th, we will officially have our ribbon cutting. This rendering you see here, you may notice looks a smidge different than our earlier ones when we initially started the work. So this addition, if you can see my cursor to the left of your screen on the third floor, is what we call phase 2. It is new, think of it sort of as WeWork space, but for our community partners. So that is under construction now. As I like to say, as we've been a little sort of out of order or a little unconventional in the way that we've kind of moved forward with this whole project, but we started phase 2 while we were deep into the middle of phase 1, and that was for a variety of reasons: money, inflation, and steel, needing to get that order placed well in advance to be here by the fall. So it doesn't look like this right now, but it will come summer of this year. We'll have a completed phase 2. That said, we're excited about February 25th and our grand opening. All of you should have received an invitation to our open house. It's exciting. You'll get tours. You'll get to see what's happening inside. You'll get some demonstration in a lot of our rooms. What I find that I've been doing this last couple of months has really been working closely with the general contractor, who is Ujama. There's just a million and one things and punch lists, and we want it to be perfect for when we open. So Kirsten may have shared a little bit about the gym floor, but it looks like we have a path forward to get it started on Monday. So Thursday of this week, when we're expecting rain, will be sort of our make or break decision. And if the rain holds off and we get no leaks, then we've done what we need to do. Then flooring can proceed, and we'll have it literally right before our homecoming celebration on the 25th. So it's exciting and scary all at once. And because we started phase 2 when we did, this is part of the challenge. All the work that's going on up on the second floor, right over the gym, whether it's a spark from the welding that permeates through and hits the temporary roofing that's put in place, or there's a screw and someone steps on it. So any sort of small thing will unfortunately sometimes lead to a small leak, which is what we've been trying to control. So fingers crossed, everyone, say your prayers and good thoughts for us. Thursday's our big sort of moment of truth day. And we hope to see you all on this day. We'll have our staff present. We will be giving tours throughout the building. You can do self-guided. We'll have some fun sort of things happening that day. I don't want to tell too much, but I hope you can all be there. So that's that funny little picture of me. Thanks, Kirsten. So just a few things that have happened in this last quarter. So as I'll stop jibber jabbering about February 25th and our ribbon cutting, but we're so excited. We've graciously and gratefully received some new public dollars to expand our work. These have been larger multi-year contracts. We know that this is, I think, as I had mentioned probably on a previous call, it's really due in part to the federal relief dollars that have gone out to states, and then states have sent those out across municipalities. So here we are, able to expand the number of young people we're working with, able to expand our service area. We've got some specific work in the Belmont, Cragen, Hermosa area, which is great. We've always sort of served in that area anyway, but now we're able to do a little bit more with these new dollars. So I was honored at the coldest Bears game ever on record, I believe. It was Christmas Eve, and the Bears had honored me with the Changemaker Award. I don't ever really like to pat myself on the back. So thank you, Kirsten, for putting it in here. But it was a big deal, and I'm grateful for their honor. And as I shared, this is something I would share with the entire team, because it's never just a single individual who makes an organization successful. It's everyone at all levels and layers. So grateful to the Chicago Bears. We actually, weeks prior to that, they had held Ryan Poles, the general manager, had all of his scouts from across the country come in to Hallis Hall for their planning work that they typically do. And they also then added a scout school, and we brought our young people, about 50 young people, to Hallis Hall. We got a chance to see how the combine works and what they're looking for. And then we also got to sit with their scouts in their sort of what they call the war room, and the scouts there talking about how they look at young people and potential players. And it was interesting. And I think what they stressed oftentimes and all the different sort of speakers who were there was that we look at a player not just for their physical and athletic abilities, but how they are off the field. So they do a lot of investigation. They look at their social media posts, they talk to friends, they talk to people who knew them to get a sense, is this someone who fits the culture of the Bears? Is this someone who's a team player? Which was interesting, I thought, to hear that. It was also great. Our young people appreciated the reason why they did scout school was to really show that they're not just how players are recruited, but more importantly, how all the other jobs that support the Bears players and the Bears organization. And so it was a way to give young people a way to see that there's scouting, there are people who do the talent search, there are people who work behind the scenes, there are people who are trainers with the Bears, there are people who do sort of the physical massage therapy, OT, PT stuff with Bears. So they went sort of through all the jobs and all it takes to make this organization, and saying, hey, this is, what you love. There's a place for you here. And one of the scouts was actually an MIT grad in computer science. So this was not his field. He likes sports enough, but they recruited him for his talent and his ability to sort of think and look at statistics and figure things out. So great stuff with the Bears. And then lastly, just the vibe, as it says here, coming back to Bill, being in person, as I'm sure all of us can attest, is just what a difference it makes. And being back in your own home all together, while we are not 100% all of us back, we will be 100% by the middle of this month. But just even having the group of us who are back, probably about 30, 40 of us, right, Kirsten? A little bit more. It's just people have lunch together, they're talking, sort of the great sounds that we used to hear back in 2019 before we all went our separate ways. So what a difference it is to be in person. So as with anything, there's also some challenges, as we mentioned, sort of moving into our facility. We've had to push our date back as we're getting all of the systems online, from phones and our room reservation system to being able to figure out how to work with your clients or your young people and activate the Bluetooth washer and dryer so that kids can get their clothes washed, right? So there are a lot of systems things that have to be completely sort of airtight before we bring everyone on. The gym, I already mentioned that. We are getting ready to launch and safely host all of these young people. I think what we have figured out is that we are going to open up in March. We're going to keep programming, keep our numbers sort of manageable and small as we're figuring out what it feels like to have all these young people in the building. And then by April, sort of open up to the full scope and scale of all of our programming options for both adults, seniors, as well as young people. And just as a caveat to adults and seniors is that we have partners who will be working with us to deliver those programs. And then hiring, right? This is an interesting time in our workforce history. We just hired over 35 new people due to new dollars, new contracts, more work that we're doing. But we still have 20 plus positions that are open that need to be filled. And so unemployment rate we know is low, which is great. And if you know folks looking for jobs in the nonprofit sector, go to our website, you'll see all the jobs available. So getting appropriately and fully staffed is always, going to be our challenge, I think. As I talk to my colleagues in the field, they all are struggling with the exact same thing. So it's not necessarily something that's specific to Build, it's specific to sort of certainly the industry, and as I hear, really it's every industry, not just the nonprofit. Growing where we have the greatest impact in our violence prevention space. We want to be embedded in as many of our elementary school programs as possible. What's happening in sort of the youth services, violence intervention space is that there are millions and millions of dollars dedicated to really trying to reach and positively impact the 2,000 plus identified young people who those 2,000 are creating 80% of driving 80% of the violence in the city. And so there's a lot of resources going to that, of which we participate in, right? So we are working with our very high risk young people, those who have been court involved, justice involved, gang involved. So we are actively in that space as we have been since '69. The piece that we are really trying to beef up and really do more, as one of our staff members said, is we really want to interrupt the future generation of the next shooter. We don't want these young people coming up through elementary school and middle school, and we haven't had an opportunity to engage them. And so we put quite a bit of effort into working with CPS. They're engaging with us to engage into 4 more schools. As you see here, we are really doing our best to be in as many places on the west side as we possibly can. What's new in sort of the prevention space that we're highlighting here is what we call the middle school advocates. And so these are staff who work closely with the prevention, the after school program, but have a small sort of targeted group of young people that they're working with who might need more one-on-one attention, who might be struggling with sort of the lure and the pull of the streets. So not quite intervention, but really as the intervention team would do, but really trying to be there and support them through their middle school years and hopefully get them successfully into high school. We are also participating in the Illinois Reentry Coalition in Humboldt Park, which we will very specifically be targeting our Latino returning citizens and making sure that we have specific services that are needed for them and their families in their language also. That is important. Build has always done a form of reentry. This is a formalized coalition made up of about 8 different partners on the north side, and then there's another team of folks who are working on the south side as well. And then lastly, our Justice Advisory Council members. So we are part of Cook County is one of their first partner grantees. So the organizations that we're working with here on the Greater West Side, you see them listed there. And how we coordinate our referrals, how we work closely to really reduce violence and engage communities and services and opportunities for them and their families. And that's what those coalitions are doing. Our Peace and Justice Center, it's been a while since I have spoken about this, I believe, but the Peace and Justice Center will be anchored here inside our new building. But it really was the genesis of that was Chief Judge Evans asking us to prepare for a restorative justice community court in Austin. And this was back in 2017. And we spent a lot of time with about 30 community members who represented families, residents of Austin, other nonprofits. We had the state's attorney at the table, police. It was really a good mix of everyone figuring out how would we launch an RJ court. When we weren't selected for the RJ court, we decided let's think a little more broadly about this and what could, while we wait for Judge Evans to figure out sort of his next steps, And we came up with this concept of the Peace and Justice Center so that it is a space where community can come to heal themselves, where they can engage in a peacemaking process before the police or the courts are involved. We have trained circle keepers now that are on staff. We've trained young people, and we'll be training our elders in the community to be circle keepers with us. And so it can be a place for community activation. It can be a place for restoration. Our juvenile justice system wants to refer young people here rather than locking them up. And so we're in conversations and partnership with them around that. And we just met with Judge Evans last week to talk about, being ready for a restorative justice process here in Austin. So he's excited to see we are so much further along than we were back from 2017. So a lot has happened during that time. We did just hire our first director of the Peace and Justice Center, who will be starting with us, I think, towards the end of the month. We're so excited. We're going to host a Peace and Justice Summit, April 19th and 20th. We're going to use this entire campus to host a citywide conference on the 19th, and then citywide RJ activities and community building on the 20th. Super excited for that. Our community engagement team is really doing a lot of work in the Humboldt Park space. We have our office on North Avenue in Humboldt Park. We're adding community ambassadors who will actually work across communities, but also inside the new building, inviting young people to come in, learn more about the programs, giving tours, talking to parents. And we're super excited because they've also been doing a lot of work in community pop-ups and events. And over the holidays, they hosted, I think, about 2 different events over the holidays. As always, our board continues to identify new members to add to the board that represent community. We've got some great community members who joined the board at our last board meeting. And we are creating our community advisory committee, which will be made up of folks who are interested in the work of BUILD, who have a level of expertise and eyes that could really help us as we're thinking about programming, as we're thinking about sort of the next steps, and where we might actually have a blind spot and where we would need to have some feedback on. So excited for how we continue to strengthen and deepen our community connections. So as many of you may know, we typically do an annual art show. It usually is the month of February. But because of our late start getting into the building, we're going to push this to April 1st. It will be a little bit different than we typically have. We're going to do some family studio times. We'll have adult studio times. We're still selling tickets. We will have performances. But this way it allows us to have everyone enjoy the opportunity and the time, as well as a way to get in some cool art and to make your own. I can tell you in the short amount of time since the Makers Lab came online and getting it set up, wow, just the amount of things that are happening inside that maker space are amazing. So I won't say anymore. I'll wait. You guys will get a chance to see it all. So put that in your calendars, April 1st. And then, of course, on Cinco de Mayo is our annual gala, Building the Future. And as you know, we continue to build the future with our young people and with our community, and we celebrate that at Navy Pier. So you can go to our website to learn more about it. You can scan that QR code if you're interested to know more. So we typically do an art auction every year, art show and auction with our young people's art. And I will just say that this year will be wildly different than in years past, because we will have a variety of things from our young people with all these cool studios that we have. And last, this is just a quick image as if you were walking down Laramie headed south, a view sort of at the back end of the lot. And again, this is where we are excited for this next round. And we have our community partner list of people who are going to be moving in with us. We've already started that. We've got a few people who will be joining us early on when we get ready to open. And then we're talking with folks who are interested when phase 2 is completed, being a partner with us inside. Exciting things. We're learning, we're growing. This first year, we will learn so much. It's exciting to think about community engaging in this space. And again, for the amount of people who have just seen it from the outside, from the buzz of the words that they've talked with people who've maybe been inside, the community is so excited to be in and to get started. So that wraps up my report, and happy to take any questions people have.
Adam, John Nitschke here, or do you want to go take Kathleen first? No? So, Kirsten, you talked about the washer and dryer. Kind of what's behind that? Why did you see a need to have a washer and dryer?
Yep. You know, well, for starters, we've actually had a lot of staff who have taken kids to get their clothes washed, unbeknownst to me, who've done it on their own time, using their own money, because they know that this young person doesn't have access to a laundromat. They don't have facilities in their building. It may be unsafe for them to travel to wash their clothes. And so they have gone with kids to do that. So we wanted to make it accessible here, and we wanted it to be free. And it was, you know, a couple of things. One, first and foremost, kids, you know, it's hard to look and feel your best if you know your clothes are dirty and they may even smell. We want kids to come with their dignity as intact as they can, right? When, you know, looking clean, their clothes are fresh. We have showers as well, John. So by the same token, if there are young people who are couch surfing and don't have stable housing, you know, finding a place to take a shower, you know, have a towel, they can get their clothes washed. So we knew that that was what we had already experienced with our young people. It did take us down, you know, sort of the questions of, well, what do we do with homeless youth? Are we going to start providing sort of services for those who are not housed? And I would say that, you know, currently the way that our funding is, but the way that we've done our programming and work, we have traditionally found ways to support youth who are homeless by connecting them with partners. But some of the basic needs we've always helped facilitate for them as well. So food, clothing, you know, a shower. So that was really the impetus in this space, was really, we can do that here. We can carve out a space. It's down a hallway across from bathrooms, so it's private, so you're not on public display, right, showing that you're here. So there's a bit of a privacy element too, because we don't want people to feel embarrassed necessarily that they have to come and wash their clothes because they can't do it anywhere. So that was the thinking behind making sure we have facilities for our young people.
And that's one of the partnerships that we're expanding, is with the Covenant House, which specializes in homeless youth as well. So knowing that we're going to have this resource to offer.
Absolutely.
Kathleen, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
I did have a question about the programs for senior citizens and how the timing of the building's hours are going to work out for that.
Yep, good question. So we know that our seniors have told us, obviously early in the morning and earlier in the day. So the community hours, which would include adults and seniors, will be from 7 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. So as early as we open until 2 in the afternoon, we'll have programming available to both seniors and then non-seniors alike. And this is what we call community time. And then from 2 till 7 will be specifically only for youth. So there'll be a transition and a turnover so that by the time kids get out, they can come to us after school, and it is a full-blown just teen center. And then we'll open back up from 7 to 9 to have back open to community for programming and options. So we're working with Mather, who provides senior services currently. And so we're working with them on programming and, making sure that we have the right times and the best place within our building to make sure we can have great seating for folks. And then we're also engaging the Silver Sneakers program because fitness, we have a fitness center, an indoor track, a gym. Want to make sure that there's some group exercise classes also for those who have different mobility issues, who might be seniors. The fitness center itself, which has been renamed the Fitness Lab, will actually cater to sort of all ages of folks who are interested in learning about physical fitness, stretching, exercises to do, the appropriate weights, how to use the equipment and the machines. So that'll be a regularly staffed space in our building will be the fitness lab, and then we have sports and everything else to offer. So a long thing to say that this is how we came to help serve sort of the needs of our seniors. And we're taking their suggestions, as I said, this first year one of learning will be what worked, what didn't, and then also some great ideas to bring. I said before, they want a steppers night to be dancing in the gym and, be able to come and have a night out, and their kids could go into the other parts of the building and have like kid friendly programming while the parents are having, a steppers evening. So, so many cool things that we were planning for, and we've listened to community, and these are the things they're telling us.
The last community board meeting I was at was definitely half about stepping. There's a lot of interest in it.
A lot. It's good exercise, a good way to be social. You get dancing, right? It's kind of, you get a little bit of everything there. And it's just so exciting. I'm excited to see it all come together and learn how to step.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. There's another question in the chat about restorative justice, and can anyone get trained as a circle keeper?
Yes, when we do our sort of open training sessions, we invite anyone from community, anyone who's interested to come and be trained in the practices of circle keeping. It's a good way to use with your family, with your friends, and your community. So the more people who have an interest in desire of being trained, certainly send us your contact information and we will get that to our RJ trainer and make sure you're invited.
Yeah, and Claire's put a comment in the chat about the intergenerational programming. Is there other areas of programming that we expect to do that?
Well, I'll tell you that there are no limits to the ways we can think about this. In particular, especially like in our makers spaces, so our makers lab, art studio, even fitness, the gym, we're working to coordinate opportunities for parents and their kids to do things together. As we know, as kids grow up and turn into teenagers and parents, they kind of do this, right? And so where there are spaces and opportunities to bring families together, whether it's an event, whether it's a one-time opportunity, whether it's a painting session or it's a woodworking session, we want to do that. This is how you strengthen families. This is how you strengthen communities. And so for us, the intergenerational side of the work is going to be critical. And I think this is given all this space that we will have, it really now allows us to do so much more as we move forward.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? That's all I have from the chat. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming out today. We really appreciate your interest and your enthusiasm for what's going on at Build. It's honestly, it's a nice little respite to be able to put down our spreadsheets and talk with all of you. So thank you so much for coming out. And as always, none of this is possible unless we have the support of this community. Mm-hmm. Certainly with gifts, but also your enthusiasm, your advocacy, and just for showing up for us over and over again. So thank you on behalf of everyone at Build, on behalf of all of our young people. We have another one of these calls on Thursday at 4 o'clock if someone missed this one, and we'll put these videos together to go out the next week. And yes, and San, and thank you so much for coming, and all our best to everyone at Rincon.
Thank you guys. It sounds like you guys are doing awesome work. It sounds very, very familiar to what Rincon is doing. I almost feel like we're at our own meeting because very similar.
Yeah.
We have 27 open spots. We have construction everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to hear you guys are doing just as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the great work that Rincon does too as well. You guys do amazing work. Thank you.
Well,
Thank
that's how we know we're on to something, right? When everyone is, we're all building the same village.
Exactly.
Yep.
Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate you.
Thank you guys. Bye-bye.